Hello and welcome to my very short tutorial on blur layers with masks in Photoshop. So thank you to Ellie for letting me use this picture that she's taken, and thank you to Ruby for being in the picture. It's a cracking picture. So what we're going to do is we've got our background layer. We're going to duplicate that, which is Command and J on my Mac, or Control and J if you're on a PC. Okay, now we're going to blur this. So we're going to go to Filter at the top and blur. Gaussian blur is the best of all the blurs, let's be honest. So and then it's up to you, but how would you want to? I'm gonna go with that, which is quite a lot of blur. It's not a complete mash of nonsense, which will be that, but we can still see shapes. Okay, so we've got our blur layer. Obviously, if I switch that off, we can see through to the layer underneath. Now, what I'm going to do is add layer masks. Now, I've done a few videos of layer masks because they're really important and they're really good to get your head around. So I click on this little dot down there, I get my layer mask, and there it is. So when the mask is white, you can see this layer. When it is black, you can't, and you can then paint on, brush it away or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to invert that layer by pressing Command and I. So it disappears. It's still there, it's still a layer mask, but because it's black, we can see straight through it, which now allows us to get creative, which is amazing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gradient tool. Now it's part of the paint bucket family. Let me just zoom in so you can see that. Okay, so you click and hold on this. It might look like that. So you click and hold and gradient tool. So now go back up to the top. It's this option on here that I want. So I've got options for fading between my foreground and background color. And your foreground and background color, if I just zoom out for a second, is this down here. Okay, X is to swap them round, which is an important bit for doing this. So what I actually want is I want it to go from my foreground color to nothing, which is what checkered is. Checkered means just invisible, nothing's happening. Okay, so if I now come back out, so I've got white as my foreground color, which means it's going to paint white on, and I can't see my layer because of the mask. If you're not with me so far, it'll make sense in just a moment. Okay, so what I can do is I can click and drag out a line, and what it's going to do, it's going to paint on white and then fade to nothing, which means when I do that to this, boom, it gets that slight bit of blur come through, because what we've done is we've painted on white and it fades out to nothing like that. If I do the same on the other side, so how long the line is how long it will take to fade from that to there. Isn't that good? I can maybe make that one a little bit more like that, and I get that slight kind of effect coming through. I can do a little bit from the bottom, and I get that slight blur coming through, which is really rather cool. I'm just going to jump across to another picture from that photo shoot. I'm going to use the same technique again, but rather than blur it this time, I'm just going to duplicate my layer, Command and J, and I'm just going to do Command and M for mother, and I'm just going to make this darker. I'm just really going with the background on this, and then press OK. And then I can again add the mask, invert the mask so it disappears, and then I can paint it back on. G is the shortcut to the gradient tool, and I can just paint that on just like that again, and I get that much more exciting edges. Oh, maybe not there, maybe from the bottom. Yeah, and I get a much better. You can actually start outside if you just wanted to bring in just a tiny bit like that. And I get, by using that, you can see the sort of hole that we're punching through to see to the nice clear, better exposure. But that mask is creating a much more exciting image down the outside for us. Easy and lots of fun. Give it a go.